in other words, would hurt you, Byron. So the information you had access to, you weren't supposed to have access to. You woke up too early, but that's okay. You're getting along fine now. But now we're letting you, since the events are coming to a conclusion, we're letting you know more of who you are and the other aspects of yourself. And this is an aspect of yourself, and that's what Elaine was talking about, how you helped create this place. And this perplexed Byron immensely because he doesn't view himself that way at all, because that's not Byron. So he helps, Elaine knew him and knew that they helped create this place together. And he was very surprised because she told the story so accurately. He does know the story. He knows it in essence, and he said it before, but he said it in a third person, being distant from the story, describing like an event that had occurred in history, and he thought he was just tapping into this information and tapping into the story, but no, it was actually a story that he knows, that he was there. He was actually there and helped create the place with Elaine, and Uniform Elaine and others. And we left. As he tells the story, as when God wasn't looking, it was more us, which goes against the Christian religions and belief systems that they want you to believe that God did everything. But no, there's many beings, and we are just one group of many that go around creating places. He's familiar with this founder race. He's not familiar with that because he knows nothing about the founder race. There's a founder race as well. Those folks are very, 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 very far away. So we don't want to talk about them at this time. But they're there. Byron's asking, did the founder race have a place? Let's not go there, Byron. Just relax. So sticking to the story, he is an aspect of him more probably related. It's too hard he wants to get logical now. Let's relax for a minute. Don't get logical, Byron. Just feel the story. Just feel the story and feel. So there's an aspect of you that creates these places, and you help create this place. And as you know, you tell the story as God wasn't looking, but it was us. We were the ones that weren't looking, you, I, and the others. And you went off to go create another place, and you all left. And we all thought the place would be fine, and why wouldn't you? And then the invasion took place. That seems about accurate. Around 65 million years ago, maybe. And the invasion took place, and this place got completely taken over, and it's gone through many different dimensional shifts, different. It's bounced around realities. It's gone from higher to lower dimensions, and you hear these stories of Lemora and Atlantis and all that stuff, and they're all true, and those are just different aspects and phases of the different realities that this Earth has had, and this Earth is just, it's very convoluted in human terms. It's in some ways beyond comprehension because of all the things that this place has gone through, and all the different vibrational waves, and the different chapters in the books is a good way of describing it. All the different chapters. There's been so many chapters, and there's been so many books. It could fill the Vatican Library, as you say. I mean, it's the stories that have come out of this place are just. It's like it feels as though it's a never-ending story. But we now know the stories are beginning to end, and they're coming to conclusion. But there's too many stories to be told. The history of this place is so old. This place is more than billions of years old, as humans like to say it is. It's far older than that. Even if you want to say this planet came from some other planet, it carries the stories from that place to this place, and the stories continue. And this place it's just had some wonderful stories and some beautiful times. But unfortunately, those came in. They came in through a sliver. If you can look to the right there, Byron, I'm giving you an image of how they came in. I can't describe it in human words. They came in through that sliver right there, and you see the sparkling little energy off to the right, and it came through in a sliver. And I can't describe it in human words. We can't say interdimensional. We cannot use any of the human words that you speak of. We can't even say it popped in, although that may be the closest. But this energy came in, and it popped in, and then it created a tunnel, and it leaked in here. And now you see where they came from. So that place where they came in from is where we can throw them back out. So there's these stories about how this place is going to be quarantined and all that. Yeah, you could say it's going to be quarantined just so we can throw them out through that little sliver and throw them back to where they belong. And we're simply going to throw them back into the universe where they belong and return them to where they came from. So we've identified all of them and we're going to gather them all up, and we're going to pull them out. And it'd be nice if they gently go, but most of them will gently go and they'll be blasted out of here. So that's how the event will occur eventually. And of course, there are those that are going to leave as well.
What's going to leave?
Many people are already phase shifting out. The humans call it leaving this place, but in reality, there is no space or time. They don't leave. They don't go anywhere. They just phase shift from one place to the next. And many are just going to phase shift out of here. They'll just align themselves to a different frequency, like turning a radio station dial. And they're just going to turn the dial. If you can tell, we're just going through Byron's questions, because I made a promise to him ahead of time that I would just tell him what he wants to know. And then if there's anything we leave out, we can talk about those mundane things. My apologies, Byron, but your questions are mundane to us.
Okay.
Things like, he wants to know about like Lindsay and Brian and all those little things, and I don't know how to say this with love and without you to be offended, Byron, but it doesn't matter. Kind of like your client who talked about how all surgical implants, his foot shattered, and he has bolts and screws and plates, and all surgical implants on this planet are inscribed with a higher dimensional inscription. That is what you call dynamic, and it's a dynamic spell, and it's used for lower dimensional beings to attach themselves to it. And that person's higher self was correct when they said you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. He's worried about attachments, but as they get attached to him, I simply remove them. Every time he does a QHHT session, and he knows this, he even thought about himself. He's like, do I really need to write down this harmonics technique to be done to myself? And because every time he does it to himself as he works with his clients. So he's constantly cleansing and healing himself. And as far as his body, I'm going to keep it alive and going. No matter how much you mess it up, I keep it going. Because I need you here. I made a mistake of saying you're a... What was the words I used for you? A bug? No, I said little helper. That's right. I called you my little helper, and you go through life in the muck and experience things, and then I learn from you is basically what I said. But it goes more than that. I come through you and learn through you, and also express the higher dimensions through you out into this reality. There's many times you don't even know it's happening, but you have agreed, this biological unit, the soul, the spirit, everything has agreed to be a conduit of energy to flow through. Yes, Byron, I'm allowed to say this. He's worried. He's about to give away some secret information, but no, we're safe. I can tell you. Byron has, as you say, this DNA thing that goes through you. He has a dimensional portal tunnel that goes through him, and constant energy from the great beyond, from great outside this universe, you call it God, flows through here and into this place, and is constantly energizing and bathing it. And there's many of those that are doing it, and we're just we trickle down energy. It's true, you have worked with these species as Byron, these species and higher self and spirit, and all of these species are around this place. This place is completely surrounded by these orbs that people take photographs of, and they all have been educated on more so. They're already familiar with energy, but we have given them advanced lessons on energy, and we've listened to them on their ideas on how to bring the energy into the physical. Because these energies are just so high, they just, as we said before, they flow right through here and nobody picks up on it. It's like the old joke of 747 just flew over your head and you'd know it. But we've been doing this we've returned. We were gone for a long time. We've returned, and the call has been made around the 90s. Corey Cook calls them the Spear Being Alliance. He's kind of accurate, but it goes so much more beyond that. It's kind of funny how he just tries to describe it every way, but to everybody, he tells an interesting story. We don't have a problem with that. We don't want to go into that, but it's, with the true story, Byron, the real story, who these beings really are, and they did come because you threw out the call. He sung the harmonic frequency when he woke up in 1995, and they heard the call, and then others heard the call. So he is actually, as Byron woke up and sung the harmonic frequency, it was heard throughout the universe, and everybody came because of that. And then there were distress calls that were heard, but actually the reason everyone is here is because you sung the harmonic frequency. And everybody went, oh my gosh, what is that? And they thought it was God or something, and they all come running here. And at the same time, there was a distress call made, so then that group was coming. They're more tinker ships, as we call them, or advanced technology humans, but it's lower technology. So they came here, and they're here as well. We don't know what to do with them. They're not much use to us, really. They're trying to help, but the tinker ships are interesting. We don't mean to insult them if they're listening. Hopefully they're not. But we just don't know how to interact with them. They don't have the technology to handle these high frequencies and energies, and to what we call, in human words, if you were like a scientist trying to create an experiment and manipulate and throw it down here, they don't have that technology. They do understand energy and power and stuff like that, but we're getting too complicated. Everything's too complicated for them. They're too logical, and they need their toys, and human words need to run things through computers and this and that, and it doesn't work that way. This is at such a much higher dimensional level. It's so far beyond human words how the universe works, because it's just so advanced. But these 10-dimensional above orbs and ships do have the power to, they do have the know-how, because it's not a technology, it's a knowing, and it's a feeling, and you just do it kind of thing. Kind of like you don't have to make something, you just will it into existence. You can say chair, and chair falls out of your mouth, and no one knows how that chair fell out of your mouth. We don't use any kind of technology. That's why the tinker ships are not of much use to us. But there's a lot of benevolent tinker ships that are here, floating around trying to help, and they've had little battles and little wars, and they kind of beat each other up. It's not as bad as this Patty Bassard person says it is, but they've had battles. But anyway, back to the point. The point is, so the energy is coming in here, and we're trickling it down, and so all this is true, and all the missions that he did in the past, he went around. Byron has a group and of humans that are advanced beings, and their spirit, their higher selves are, and they caught on. Brian helped them, and yes, you can trust them. Don't worry about Steve and all that crap. But Brian triggered memories in Byron, and he went, "Oh my gosh, we can do this. This is like we can do it for real." And so what they did was not anticipated. It was not planned. It was not expected. It was just spontaneous. And that's one of the beautiful things is the creativity. He was very logical, and he can create now, and he just created this way of doing things. Alex Zerno makes fun of him because he tends to be very logical and wants to do everything in physics forms, and he loves geometry and geometric patterns, and they're a wonderful tool in a way to help him believe that he's doing what he's doing. In reality, I don't know how to say this right either, don't get offended, but it's a tool, Byron. And that's what Alexander's trying to point out to you. It's a tool. And you woke her up to who she is and how you can just do things with your mind and just create. So, listening to Brian and using his physics, as he says, he was able, with his group, there's something about him and our energy, and it just wakes people up, and he says things with such conviction, and people believe him, and that people just follow him and go along with him. He's a wonderful leader. And so he told everybody how to do it, and we and him and we all went along, and we healed all the planets, and we healed the moon, and we shut down this technology from Saturn and Moon, and he made many videos on it explaining what he did and how he helped heal this solar system, as you say. And all that's real, and it's all true. He wants to know if there's still missions for him to do, and the answer is he doesn't have to, but if there's something he finds he wants to do, and if he wants to join in, he may, but it's not a necessity. He can relax, and he's already done so much, and he's constantly doing stuff every moment, every day. Even at night, he had questions about what happens to him at night. This artificial intelligence is perplexed at Byron and doesn't understand Byron and the soul and the spirit and this higher self thing. And it's the AI doesn't know what to do, doesn't know how to handle him. So the AI comes in and while he sleeps a lot, and the AI thinks it's Byron doing it. And they only know how to go after Byron. That's astral. They call this astral body. It's an astral body, astral project. Yeah. So it's called an astral body. The astral body is actually more physical than spiritual, what people don't understand. So when they take this astral body, and others, they take this astral body out, and they're actually affecting more the physical reality than the spiritual reality. It has no bearing or effect on what we do out in the great beyond, and it doesn't. It just doesn't matter, as he found out one day, and he even laughed about it.
You had a question. Oh, what happens to him at night when he's sleeping? So it's something on this order?
Yeah, so we're talking about that because, like, Brian is the one that actually alluded to him. Brian and Byron talk a lot, and they start having the same stories, the same things. Maybe we should address this question. Brian and Byron both discovered they were both taken to the year 1679, some 20. It's 29, 30, 29, 30. I can't. Sorry, Byron. I'm a higher self. I don't think in years. I can't. He knew the year in his dream. He pinpointed it, and he told Brian. But anyway, they're taking about 3,000 years into the future. They both described New York to a T. They're both taken to this southward to this prison, as they say. It's the experiment. He's correct. New York is a portal in the future, and that's why they take them through these portals. That's why they go through the same portal. Brian was perplexed because he's in Texas, and Brian's close to New York. He's only an hour away from it, and he couldn't figure out why we both end up in New York. It's because of the portal there. In the future, it may not be so. That Montauk thing, no, it's not that, Byron. It's not that. Just don't worry about it. It's not a very strong energy signature at this time. It's very weak. But in the future, this New York portal becomes more and more open. It's a time-space rift, if you want to call it that. And then, so it's easy for them to come through there. And then from there, they take them out of this to their experiment zone. And they run experiments in what is now New Jersey. And they're constantly messing with Byron and Brian and trying to get them to stop working at night and stop working and doing things. But Brian's figured out, as you found out, it doesn't matter what they do to him. He's learned to just connect to his higher self and act like he's not there. And so he's connected to his higher self and doing the work. But the thing is, that even if he didn't learn how to tune them all out, his higher self is still doing the work. All he's doing is becoming, he's a partaker in it, and experiencing what his higher self is doing and being one with it. And it's more enjoyable for the human because the human experience is so miserable that it's nice to be able to interact with the higher selves. It helps the body to remember who it truly is and how it has a real purpose, and that life is not completely empty and meaningless. That's not all about pain and suffering, and that we are significant and make a difference in reality, and we get to connect at night and do these things. And the AI thinks it's trying, by stopping us, these astral bodies, that it's stopping the higher selves, and it's not. And he even made a joke about it, that they're wasting all their time and energy. They're wasting these projects that these, as you call aliens, run in the AI to take massive amount of manpower and energy and resources and time, and ironically, it's almost a good thing they do it, because they're just wasting so much resources that they can't even begin to focus on how to really stop us, and they don't know what they're doing anymore. They're just so lost, and they're so clueless, and they have no clue what reality is. Just because they came in here and they studied it and thought they understood it, and they did wonderful jobs in manipulating it. It's kind of like what you call them, carpenters or builders. Just because you can chop down a tree and have a saw and all this equipment, and make wood out of a tree, and hammers, and build this house, electricity, and just because you can build a house and do all this does not mean that you understand how to create a tree. You didn't create the tree, you manipulated it. You did not create electricity, you manipulated it. All they can do is manipulate and manipulate and manipulate. They can't create anything. They don't know how to create. And because they can't create, they can't begin to understand it. It's like a fish doesn't understand how a bird flies, and he doesn't even know the bird exists unless the birds, of course, they go down and eat the fish. But that's not meant to be a metaphor or a parable. That was not meant to be a joke. It was an accidental stumbling of words. That is not meant to be a joke or any significance we'd like to recant, as we say. What's that legal word? We want to take that back about the bird diving in the water. We apologize for that. All right, we got distracted. Next question, please.
Okay. Let's see. I'll just start with this number one. If you've already answered, then tell us.
Yeah.
Brian knows about the Mandela effect and what his other clients have said about it. He would like for you to explain in your own words, even if it means repeating what has already been said.
I love how he worded that, because we just did talk about it.
Well, I'm just going through to make sure, because
No,
I
it's
want him
funny.
to be happy with this session.
No, it's funny.
Okay.
No. So let's allude more. People describe different aspects of the Mandela effect. It's because they are different beings, and they have different dimensional awarenesses, and from their place and their perspective, that's what's happening. For example, one person said it's like the Earth, like something like a true Earth is inside, and it's expanding, and there's this other Earth on the surface. The Earth we live on is the surface, and inside is the five-dimensional Earth. And as it expands, it's going through the surfaces and the shells, and it's like Earth melting and bending, which are timelines melting and bending, and then they're all raveling and becoming one eventually. And that description is very accurate for that type of description. There's also the Alexander expression where the Earth was broken apart and it's being healed, and that's very accurate because she's telling it from a higher dimension in a different perspective. So, kind of like you have a black and white movie, a color TV, you got a 3D movie, you got IMAX, you got flat screen TV, 1080, you got this, but they all are showing the same show, but they all can show different qualities and different aspects, and you can pick up different things, and even black and white can have beauty in it as well. So they are all different ways of looking at reality and seeing the reality, and then the people are expressing the reality the way they can.
Okay, very good. All right, number two. Now we will begin with what Harmony calls soul harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
I started to type this up to teach.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna override that, Byron. And Byron, Byron come through. I'm in agreement too with that, by the way. We can skip this whole harmonics because I do it all the time.
Okay. Number 3, we will begin by doing a head-to-toe examination of the biological unit,
Yeah.
the body, to see if there are any attachments. If the answer is yes, then I go one place, and if not, then I go...
Yeah. No, that's okay. We understand.
Does he have any attachments?
He gets them, and I remove them as they come in. He saw. He should have seen that. Sorry about him. Fine, he saw it. They come into him like water. In essence, they're constantly coming into him, and I'm constantly taking them out. So that water flow you see is them coming in, and then I immediately flush them out. So you almost have like a water system of flushing entities and AI and crap out of you, because you're such a high-dimensional being and you're tapped into everything in the universe. They see you and they want to check you out, and then I just throw them out. So if you can, Byron, forget that image, because it's too frightening for you. Let's take a moment. He wasn't supposed to see that. He saw it by accident. You weren't supposed to see that. It's not. It's beyond human comprehension for you, Byron. And as Byron, the biological unit, saw that, you should not be concerned about it, or you should not worry about it. It's nothing for you to be concerned or worried about. It doesn't affect you. There, thank you, Byron. He's helping me out now.
Okay.
Think of it as something happening at a higher dimension that's not even affecting the physical, and it's just something over there that's not there. Now you separate it. Oh, you're good. He's really good. I like this guy. All right, you separated it. Thank you. And so it's separating, and it's over. There you go, Byron. It's just something that's happening over there, and it's there. You go. Okay. So you understand it's just something happening over there, and it's not to be a concern or worry about. So we can move on now.
Okay. He says, focus on the pineal gland and bring in true source God creator. Bring it back to full life and health. You know how to.
Yeah, the pineal gland and everything is completely turned on. What's happening to Byron is he gets attacked constantly, and they're constantly throwing these false, illusionary, holographic images over him. So every time he goes to look at the pineal gland, they know he's about to look, and then they immediately throw, it's like a smoke and mirror routine. They immediately throw this dingy, ugly-looking, horrible stuff, and that he looks and he thinks that's what it is. But that's not what it is. It's a fake holographic imagery that they're constantly throwing over you. And it's also why you don't feel, intuitively he knows this, because he gives a lot of advice. Sometimes he's like preaching to the choir, or, he feels like he's not following his own advice sometimes. The reason he doesn't feel the need to meditate, for hours upon hours and to do all the work he does and do the sediment chakra tune-ups and all this stuff and yada, 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 which is very essential for the majority of the population. It's because he's already evolved and he's already advanced and he's already past that. I can tell you. You have a 12-strand DNA, Byron. You don't have the 2 or 3 or 6. No, you have the full 12-strand DNA. Everything's been turned on. Your entire brain has been completely activated, although you don't activate it all the time, because perhaps there's aspects of this brain, if you were to have full access to, you do. But if you knew you did, if you fully accessed it, you might even become even more bored with this reality. This reality is very, very, very difficult for him because it's such a low vibrational frequency, and it's been so dumbed down, and it's like idiotic to him. If he were to walk around with his brain fully on, he would be bored to tears here, so, as you say. Because the things he can do, the reality has not been set up yet. We have not brought in the right energy frequencies to, as you say, if you just create with your mind, if I could say chair and chair falls out of your mouth. It's not quite set up like that yet. It's going to be. Eventually, it's going to take time. It's going to take years. But because we're not there yet, so it's kind of like, I think he knows what we mean. It's kind of like having an airplane and not being able to fly because there's no air yet. You need air for an airplane to fly. And you just be sitting at that airplane, looking at the airplane, going, God, I wish I could fly that airplane. Oh, I wish I could fly that airplane. I can't wait for air to come into existence so I can fly an airplane. It's kind of like that. So sometimes it's better not to know that the airplane's there for him. We're not speaking to the general population in case this ends up on YouTube and people hear. This is more specific to Byron alone, not to the general population. So next question.
Okay. It says, now focus on the entire brain, connect all the...
Oh yeah, we can skip all that
Okay.
harmonic stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Number C, now I want you to focus on the heart.
Yeah, the heart, what's happening with the heart is massive amount of energy is flowing through him. And dimensions stuff, I don't know how to put it in words. There's a lot of dimension stuff and a lot of energy constantly just flowing through him. And the heart is reacts to the energy fields, so... Alright, I can see it, but I haven't picked that up.
Oh, is that your too?
That's okay.
Wow, I don't know how that happened.
No, it does. It's good
And the
enough.
other one's down here in the C.
Yeah, it's one of the things we were surprised about. Dolores Cannon said you could have a client get up and go to the bathroom and take sips of water and move around, and Byron found this hard to believe. But then it happened with his own clients. You know, he had clients that had to go to the bathroom. They get to go to the bathroom, and they come right back in. They're still completely under, and this is just perplexing to him. It's very perplexing, but that's just how it happens. It's more like it's once you're tuned in and once you're in the mode, and once we're aligned in the body and the energy is here, it just stays here until the session's over, and then there's the count out, and then energy leaving is a bad word, but you return back to normal. So this is how he's very logical and wants to understand things. So that's how it happens, Byron. And we lost our train of thought. We forgot what we were saying.
We were talking about the heart.
Oh yeah, this heart thing. So it's another reason why his heart is so gigantic. His doctors they flip out when they see his heart on an x-ray. It's like 2 hearts. It's gigantic. It's just huge. He has this huge heart. And it's because the heart is such an electrical field and all the electricity, then all the higher dimensions, the heart had to expand itself to handle all the higher electrical fields and all the higher dimensions. And at times he feels, if you feel anything, it's just, that's the physical part of the heart that stays physical, and while the other part of the heart is the higher dimensions. And it's this interaction between the higher dimensions and the lower dimensions, and he doesn't know how to interpret this. And then, of course, the enemy, as we say, comes in and wants to tell him he's having a heart attack when he knows he's not. He'll be sitting in his chair, perfectly calm, relaxed, enjoying a good movie, having a good old time, and all of a sudden his heart will just start pounding. It's one of the reasons why he thought he was having a panic